What's up, guys? Chris Matakas here, and so many people don't fulfill their potential on and off the mat, and I don't want you to be one of them, which is why we created this channel. If you are a white belt who has just started training this month, this is for you. We're going to cover 5 simple tips you can focus on to get the most out of your training in this initial beginning phase of your journey. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll have a really good understanding of how you should approach this art. So let's dive in. First tip, pay attention. Now, there's generally 4 levels of skill, we'll call it, where at first you are unconsciously bad. You don't know how bad that you are. And then you become consciously bad, where you still suck, but you know you suck. And then you become consciously good, where you're doing the right things, but you have to be really conscious of that act. And ultimately, the highest goal is to become unconsciously good, where you just express beautiful jiu-jitsu through you. So obviously, when you're first starting out, you're level 1. You're unconsciously bad. You don't know how bad you are. And everyone started there. I started there. That's just how it works. So our job is to get you to level 2, to become consciously bad. So the way you're going to get there the fastest, and it's not that hard to get there, right? Because jiu-jitsu can be very daunting in the beginning. But just pay attention to the mistakes you make. You're going to make them. You're going to make a lot of them. Don't judge them. Appreciate them. Just pay attention to them, because you are actually training your attention muscles, and as we cultivate the ability to better pay attention to the movements of our body, of the instructions of our head into our body and what gets lost on the way, the more likely we are to retain information that jiu-jitsu is always giving us. So pay attention to the black belts when they roll. I mean, watch how beautiful it is when they train. Pay attention to other beginning white belts when they roll, and pay attention to how ugly and violent it is. And that's okay, because you're probably doing that too. And then pay attention to when things go right. You know, when you hit a first sweep or your first submission and it feels amazing, pay attention to the skillful path that allowed you to experience minimal resistance on the way to achieving that goal. And conversely, pay attention to when we hit our head against a wall and you're just trying something that's not working. So just pay attention, and jiu-jitsu will give you all the data and information if you can be receptive to it. Second one, embracing your ignorance. It's kind of like a bridge from the first to the third one. So you are going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's great. I applaud you for training jiu-jitsu, because it's such a difficult pursuit and it's so worthwhile. Those usually coincide, right? The harder something is, generally the more worthwhile it is to do it. There is a metaphor that I like to use in jiu-jitsu, that it's kind of like a field we're walking through, and there's an infinite amount of paths. And the difference between a white belt and a black belt is a black belt has walked all those paths and they know where they all lead. And a white belt doesn't even know there's paths in the field. So what you're doing essentially is stumbling around through the labyrinth trying to find yourself. That's what jiu-jitsu is in the beginning. That's what the acquisition of any skill is in the beginning. So just embrace your ignorance. You know, don't expect to be good at something you've never done before. Don't expect to have the answers. Almost expect the opposite. Expect to do the wrong thing all the time, and it just makes the experience lighter, and it allows you to move through this initial beginning phase as you start to cultivate more conscious awareness of your discipline. And it just makes for a better experience for you and for, everyone around you, because there's nothing worse than the angry white belt who thinks he should be doing these things and is furious with himself for not doing so. That's not how it works. We know you have to fail first. So fail happily, fail forward. We have an expression, if you're not failing, you're failing. So just fail a lot, and then you won't be failing. All right, number 3, play the long game. So my goal for my students is I want them to acquire as much mat time in their life as possible. And more specifically, I want them to acquire as much conscious mat time as possible. Because really, it's just a matter of the longer you can be on the mat, the better you'll become, and the more likely you are to take the benefits from jiu-jitsu and apply them to the rest of your life. So that's my goal for my students. So I'm always reminding them, play the long game. I want you here for decades, not weeks, not months. So we tend to start jiu-jitsu and we get excited about this new toy, and you just go guns blazing. You train 7 days a week, and then a rib pops. You get turf toe, whatever it might be. That's a great problem to have, that we love something so much we do it to the point of it being a detriment. But we need to know from the beginning, right? Like Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Rule number 2, begin with the end in mind. The end is that you're going to be a black belt. It's not, I hope so, it's an inevitability. Knowing that's going to happen and knowing that that is maybe a decade out, we need to just daily make progress toward that goal. And sometimes the way you make progress toward that goal is to take a day off. It's to listen to your body. And that's actually the 4th rule, is to listen to your body and understand that, look, jiu-jitsu is an environment which will require a different type of physicality and athleticism and flexibility and malleability that life has not asked of us yet. So in playing the long game and in listening to our body needs to adapt to this new environment. It's not going to happen at the rate we wish it would, but it's going to happen. So in playing the long game and listening to our body, it's okay to take a couple days off when something hurts. It's okay to stop in the middle of a round when you feel a tweak in your back. As a general rule, pain means you should stop. And we can use that as a sort of litmus test for the efficacy of our training while we're doing it. Because if you're training in jiu-jitsu and you're in pain, it probably means we're doing something wrong. Or it means there's something wrong with your body that's going to impede your ability to do jiu-jitsu long term, and it needs to be addressed. So that goes back to the first tip, which was paying attention. If we can pay attention to our body, we're able to play the long game. And then finally, play. So words are fun, and we call ourselves jiu-jitsu players, right? And I think one of the greatest advantages of jiu-jitsu for adults, it's the only place where we get to play in life. Like, life is freaking hard even when it's awesome. We have so many responsibilities and so many things to attend to. We all come pre-packaged with our baggage. We acquire baggage along the way. We all desperately need to play. And I believe that one of the deepest roles jiu-jitsu plays in the life of modern adults is we kind of rediscover the child we left behind when we entered the workforce, when we adopted responsibilities before life got hard, And through jiu-jitsu, as we learn to play again, I think life can become more pleasurable and easy. So don't work at jiu-jitsu. I mean, we work enough in our lives. If we can play jiu-jitsu and enjoy that experience and make it a fun ride, not something that is like a laborious task that must be done, but rather a beautiful opportunity that we get to do, we get better faster and we stay on the mat longer and we're happier to our wives and our kids, and we're just more likely to be around long term. So if you are just starting out this month, 5 quick things: pay attention, embrace your ignorance, play the long game, listen to your body, and play jiu-jitsu. If you do that, you'll have a really great ride. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please leave a comment. Let me know where you're at. Subscribe to the channel. I am really excited to connect with everybody through this medium and just help you fulfill your potential, because so many don't, and I don't want you to be one of them. And we tend to leave a lot on the table relative to jiu-jitsu, and there's so much on the table. So my goal is through this channel to help you get as much of it as you can to have the best life possible. So I'll talk to you soon. Until the next video, be well, Godspeed.
Grips, hips and shield.